The spoon theory. For those of you who haven't heard this term before, buckle up, this one's going to be an interesting one. For those of you who may already know a little bit about the spoon theory, we're going to be going in depth into how it works, why it works the way it does, and why it's become a key term in the chronic health industry. The spoon theory was developed by a blogger who in 2003 sat down with her friend at a diner, and her friend was watching her take all her medication. She has the chronic disease called lupus, also considered an invisible disease. And her friend asked her, "How are you doing? What does lupus really do to you?" Her friend was just asking a fairly innocent question, trying to understand what her friend was going through. When it comes to chronic illness, that question can be quite daunting. And so her friend went around the diner, grabbed a bunch of spoons, and sat back down with her friend. Gave her the spoons that said, "How would you use your spoons?" And that is how the spoon theory was developed. She later on wrote a paper and it was journaled, and all these fun things happened with this spoon theory. And it would eventually become one of the most well-known theories when it comes to chronic illness, and one to explain the use of energy or the lack thereof for people with chronic illness. Now, for me, the spoon theory was something that I had heard a lot about, but hadn't really done a lot of research on until recently. It's one of those things that I think I had a hard time really wanting to acknowledge the fact that I had less spoons than I really wanted, and I needed time to process that. Now that I've gotten over my own issues, we are going to be going into a deep dive on the spoon theory. I will actually be spending about a week journaling my spoons, the spoons that I use, and how I use them. This is a critical part of really learning the spoon theory and also really understanding how much energy you use in a day and how you use it. As a person with chronic fatigue and all these autoimmune disorders, it's one of those things that my spoons do vary. And when we talk about spoons, we talk about levels of energy. You can also think about it like a gas tank. You know, you go to bed, you get up, and you've got a full tank of gas. Well, for people with chronic illness, you typically don't. So the average of a normal person who doesn't have any chronic illness will have between 20 and 30 spoons. Here's a diagram of essentially how the breakdown is done in a very simplistic way. Now, this diagram has created a lot of controversy in the industry of chronic illness and a lot of discussion because everyone's spoons are different. And that's something this diagram doesn't explain. The reality is everybody's spoons are different. As much as they mean the same thing, they don't necessarily take up the same amount of energy. In this diagram, it says that it takes 2 spoons to have a shower. For someone like me or someone who has POTS syndrome, something that causes a lot of issues when they're having a shower, a spoon for them, it could be 4 spoons for them to have a shower. So they literally have to have 4 spoons in their arsenal of spoons if they want to be able to have a shower. And this is why I really truly believe that if you want to take on the spoon theory and really learn it for yourself, you have to journal how you actually use your spoons on a day-to-day basis to really find out how many average spoons do you use, how do you feel when you use those spoons, and where you're at. The way it works is once you've done this 7-day journaling, you then evaluate how many average spoons you have in a week, or i.e. every day. And you typically would want to take 2 off. So if you're not feeling well, you're still having issues, you're still feeling really unwell, tired at the end of the day to the point of exhaustion, if you're still chronically ill and still trying to figure out what's going on, this is the bare minimum you want to do to try and figure out what they call your baseline. Your baseline spoons are essentially something that will not change very often. Not unless a medication all of a sudden makes you really, really well or really, really poorly. But the reality kind of works is that once you've figured out your baseline spoons, you really can then evaluate the things that go on around your life so that you don't go into these breakdowns or you don't go into these flare-ups. It's really how you take these spoons and use them day to day that will really learn and teach you kind of what the future holds. It's given me a lot of control back, I found, since I've really looked into the spoon theory, that you get to use your spoons how you want to. Now, that seems easy to say, I do understand that, but if you really do the work, I do believe that the benefits will be at the end of the spoon rainbow, if I say. I'm still in my journey of the spoon theory, and I will be keeping you guys up to date on this new journey. We'll be doing an entire series on the spoon theory, how it works for me, my own diagram that I'll be creating over the long term. But I wanted to do this video to just kind of open up the conversation about spoons and the spoon theory for those of you who may have never heard about it. Like I was saying, the average person has 20 to 30 spoons. I remember those days and I do miss them. The reality of this diagram, I'll show it again, is the idea of if you only had 12 spoons, how would you use them? Everyone has different needs, everyone has different wants in life, and everyone has their spoons to use how they choose to use them. And so really think about it. Really think about the steps that you need to take on a day-to-day basis, how many spoons they use and how many spoons they use for you. Because something like getting out of bed, you know, for me, the last couple of weeks with my hip injury, getting out of bed has been, you know, next to impossible. And as far as I'm concerned, it's been a 3-spoon activity. But now that I'm recovering and starting to feel better, getting out of bed is not a 3-spoon activity anymore. It's back to a 1-spoon activity. But that's due to an injury, obviously, right? And so it's kind of those types of conversations that you want to have with yourself and acknowledge the fact that certain things and certain tasks that you must do, like getting up, getting dressed, brushing your teeth, taking your medication, eating food, are all 1-spoon activities. And however you may think, they may be more spoons for you, but if you categorize them all as 1 spoon, there's no half spoons here, guys. It's all a spoon. I know taking medication doesn't seem that complicated. You gotta get out of bed or you gotta get up, go get that medication, get some water, all those things. It may not seem like a lot, but when you start breaking down every step that it takes to take your medication, opening up bottles, things of that nature, it really does add up as far as energy is concerned, especially when you're already depleted. Here are the basic rules. There are no half spoons. If something takes a spoon, it takes a whole spoon, no matter how little or how much energy it takes. You define your spoons. So define them well and define them systematically. Figure out how many spoons things take for you, keep a diagram, and make sure that you try and keep your spoons as constructively built out as possible. That's how success is really going to lead to you potentially even getting more spoons in the long term. It's one of those things that once you start actually tracking, you'll really figure out where your energy is going. This is very similar to budgeting for those of you who hate this one too. Once you start tracking your expenses and your income and really budgeting and actually writing things down, things become much clearer. It's the very same concept with your spoons. I hope this video has been helpful. If you guys have any questions about the spoon theory, please leave them in the comments down below. Like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe if you'd like to join us in this spoon theory challenge that we're going to be building out over the next couple months as I get deeper and have a deep dive into this myself. Till then, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Don't forget to slow your roll. Like this video, I hope you'll like the next one. Check it out over here.